Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Akash Weekly Twitter Spaces. I'm Nadia Bajuelo, Community Events Manager here at Overclock Labs. I hope everyone here now, listening or watching later, is having a great morning, afternoon, or evening wherever it is you're joining us from. Before jumping into today's spaces, I want to thank you guys for being a part of the Akash community. It was a great month of August for the community, and it's exciting to kick off another month with all of you. With that, let's get started with today's spaces. Greg will kick us off with updates including Akash ecosystem news and broader Cosmos and industry news. After updates, we'll give you guys a full introduction to our guests. Abhishek Singh, co founder and CEO of Comdex, Siddarth Patil, co founder and COO of Comdex, and Maxime Beauchamp, co founder of Cloudmos. During our guest segment, we'll be asking Abhishek and Siddarth about Comdex, their roadmap, their latest testnet, and what Akash can do to support. We'll also talk to Max, who will fill us in on the latest updates and tools Cloudmos is building, as well as his experience with Akash, the Akash Accelerator, and future plans. We'll then wrap up with an AMA with Greg. We'll meet Abhishek, Siddarth, and Max just after updates. But for right now, let's hand it off to the man of the hour and CEO of Overclock Labs, Greg Osuri. Take it away, Greg.
Thank you so much, Nadia. Good to see you all. This is an amazing moment. This is the 10th straight week Akash Weekly we're doing, I believe. We started these every week updates few months ago, about in I believe end of June and or July. Can't remember. I think June. Yeah. So we did July and August, and this is September. So really exciting. I love these updates. It gives me an opportunity to, gather all the exciting things that happened over the week. You know, before this spaces, we publish a thread, and really, the thread really summarizes the ecosystem updates. And every time I look at the thread, I look at how far we come along, and and how far we still have to go, right? But it's a great opportunity for me to really connect with the community, and I really look forward to these 8 o'clock every Wednesday. With that, last week we saw quite an opening. We had, Coinbase come up with their Web3 developer stack, and Akash was top of the list when it comes to decentralized cloud computing. And one of the key highlights of the report was that they indicated that Akash really proved you can deliver a high-performing peer-to-peer infrastructure, right? So I really like that point because the world was never, aware that a thing like Akash is even possible. There were a lot of players before Akash that tried to do what Akash does. There are a lot of players now, even after Akash, trying to do what Akash does, but Akash somehow, is cemented and somehow could deliver a high performance cloud that is a good replacement to your current existing clouds, right? And I think the point Coinbase team did was very important. The high performance cloud on a blockchain is a keyword here. And also, if you think about Akash being the top of the mind for when Hetzner banned crypto, and that really emphasizes the point that Akash is what people think about when they talk about Web3 cloud, right? So all these indicators really cement Akash's position as the Web3 cloud as we're building through this bear. Um, and we had quite a few updates from our ecosystem. It began with really our friends at Spheron. Spheron officially, welcomed Akash as a partner. We've been working quite a lot on different things. They've been doing sneaky demos. They've been doing quite a lot of stuff. But last week they officially said Akash is their integration. They showed amazing stuff happening. They also have a workshop. If you want to learn how to use Akash on Spheron, go to their workshop in Hyderabad, India, if you're around, and they'll teach you how this integration works. I think they're going to take you through the whole nuts and bolts of the system. And Prashant here is in the call. So thank you all for this amazing workshop. I'm looking forward to our community members going there. Hyderabad is my hometown as well, so it's really exciting to see this workshop launch in my hometown. Um, I wish I was there. And our friends from Cloudmos announced their new SDL builder. We have Max here, our beloved community member, to talk all about it. But at a high level, SDL Builder is really a tool that simplifies a deployment Akash, right? So a precursor to deploying Akash is the configuration of your application, right? So that configuration on Akash is specified using a language called SDL. SDL stands for Stack Definition Language, right? It is not the easiest thing to do because it's really optimized for flexibility to the developer. You can get crazy data structures, you can get all kinds of amazing patterns using SDLs, and the SDLs builder gives you a visual mechanism to build this configuration file to your choice, right? So it's really cool. I played around with it. Highly recommend you go check it out. cloudmos.io/SDL-builder. Um, our great community member, Simpa, is starting to show so many cool things on how to really deploy on Akash, right? So, he really highlights or reminds us the importance of Akash in the Chia ecosystem and really gives us amazing ways to leverage their blade bit disk plotters. Check out this really cool tweet he has going on there. Um, Meanwhile, our Dimokos, keep getting the name wrong, sure on how to really do a proxy server for 29 cents, right? So, I mean, Numicos is our favorite serial deployer. I mean, he deploys all kinds of cool things and he shows us all kinds of amazing things that we know are possible in Akash, but we don't quite sort of like materialize them till we see the cost, right? And for 29 cents a month, he's able to deploy a proxy server. I love the fact that he gets so excited just by he gets the fact that he gets super excited by deploying all these really cool things on Akash that reminds me of when I was a kid, when I was like, you know, discovering all these amazing things on computers, and I would just get so excited about them. And there were so many aha moments that for me, as when I was learning this thing called computers would come about, and I'm looking at Akash now and seeing cool things being made on Akash. I get this aha moment, right? I wish I had. I just want to spend all my time on Akash deploying these things, working with them, building amazing things that I've always wanted to build. I mean, hopefully, as if the bear lasts forever for a little longer, I hope I'll have some more time. But these days, I've been primarily spending I spend maybe 2 to 3 weeks. I try to at least spend 2 to 3 weeks coding, and this weekend I was actually working on a cool deployment mechanism to benchmark some of our providers. I don't know if you guys remember there was a FUD recently about like, hey Akash, being a proxy to Amazon Web Services, and that was obviously rooted in complete false data of test data instead of real data. uh, big and it's really hard to get the real data because you have to actually go deploy on each one of these providers and take the host name and reverse proxy, I mean reverse IP lookup the IP address. I mean, doing 50 deployments at the same time and it's not um, the best thing when you're doing manually. So I wanted to write a little tool that'll deploy like a benchmarking container that'll take all the stats that I would need from each provider. So a tool that'll really target individual providers, which was never a feature of Akash, but I was writing this tool. So, and part of that is like I'm deploying all kinds of like, cool containers and, proxy servers and whatnot. I think it'll be a great way to test my tool out. So yes, I am spending some time on Akash, but I could spend like 7 days a week. That would be ideal, but my life gets in the way. Anyway, we got a cool project, Geekpics NFT that did a demo on how to deploy on with their deployment Akash that has this really cool in metaverse advertising mechanism, I suppose. I mean, it's so cool. I really haven't like can't really quite comprehend what it is, but the fact that they're using Akash is really cool. Go check it out. It's Geeks Pix NFT. They have a tweet out there with this cool like spray painting thing that'll paint powered by Akash. Um, so it's on our update Twitter thread. Go check it out. And be on in other ecosystem news, Kava, Kava, they're incentivizing rewards for security and infrastructure. Kava, as people know, is a big user of Akash, and Kava also, and because they use Akash, because they feel Akash is integral to their infrastructure, they proposed that they incentivize some of the Akash stuff, and Prop 97 passed. This brings me another really cool, important point. When you see protocols like Kava, which is a DeFi protocol, it's not really not really a infrastructure software like Cloudmos or Spheron. They're incentivizing Akash development and incentivizing Akash usage. Just tells you the importance Akash plays in the stack, right? I think it's becoming more and more clear for a lot of the DeFi platforms that in order to survive the upcoming censorship regime, you have to decentralize all the way, right? So Akash now provides an amazing opportunity for DeFi projects to decentralize, right? We do have another new feature that's coming on Akash. I think that's going to blow people's mind. It's not only so a big challenge right now with Akash is um, there is Akash supports private, applications, right? Only private applications. So that means when you deploy something on Akash, when you have to, you know, push your code, the process is called manifest uploading, right? So during the manifest upload, you are interacting with the provider in a direct way using TCP protocol, right? So until then, create deployment transaction is the transaction that actually creates a deployment, and update deployment. All those transactions are on chain. However, the manifest upload is off chain because it contains your private data, it contains your configuration data and whatnot. So one of the ideas, so that's really cool because it supports privacy, but it doesn't quite give full automation in terms of or flexibility for adapt to deploy directly on Akash. So, like for example, a smart contract, although can go create a transaction using interchain accounts, but can't complete the transaction because it requires a TCP interaction, right? So we're kind of looking at a new model of purely public applications, purely on-chain manifests. So if the manifest happens on chain, now you can have a smart contract that can do the complete deployment. So what that means, a smart contract, if it's a DAO, for example, a DAO on Juno can now own deployments on Akash using the ID, using a Juno account, right? So imagine the power of a smart contract owning deployments and completing the deployments. And a DAO can then have a vote on what deployment goes and what deployment doesn't. In fact, most deployments can become immutable. So you can have like multiple versions of a DeFi frontend controlled by a DAO. Once the deployment happens, it happens forever, right? On chain. And if you can push the manifest on chain, we can have this amazing, like unstoppable services. And since it's all on chain, it's fully verifiable. So a CoinGecko can basically point to a URL and be like, hey, this is verified URL, verified by the vote by the DAO all the way. if you integrate the stack all the way to like a decentralized GitHub like Radical or Gitopia, you can actually trace back the code all the way down to the contributions. I think the future of DeFi is going to be a full supply chain decentralization. A full supply chain decentralization begins with the Git repos, the merge mechanisms, the identity establishment by the contributors, all that, all the way from the contributions to the deployment, fully on chain, fully verifiable, and that's the kind of future Akash is ready, getting ready for, right? So we, like I said, there's so much happening on Akash, but we barely scratch the surface. When you have fully on-chain, immutable, composable deployments, that's going to change the way DeFi, is done. Now, when you talk about censorship, you have to, if you have to stop something, you have to censor a smart contract. So that really depends on where the smart contract is. Imagine an Ethereum smart contract deploying directly on Akash. You can't go censor a smart contract. You can't stop a smart contract. So the only way out of this like heavy censorship regime is a fully decentralized stack, and we're all working very hard to get there. So I'm really excited for this Kava Prop 97 early support for Akash, and they really understand the power behind Akash, right? So I think this show of support. Not only from words but also by actions is amazing thing Kava community has put together. So, yeah, so I thank them. With that, let's conclude the updates and let's welcome our new guests here.
Thanks, Greg. First up, we have two guests joining us today to tell us more about Comdex, their roadmap, and how Akash and Comdex are teaming up during their latest testnet. First up, we have Abhishek Singh, co founder and CEO at Comdex. Abhishek is an engineer by trade and has been in the crypto space since 2013. Prior to starting Comdex, he worked at companies like Sapient and Thoroughgood. Welcome, Abhishek. How are you today?
Hey Nadia, thanks for the intro. Thanks Griff for the updates, and hi everyone in the community. Doing great. Thanks Nadia.
Awesome. Also here with us is Siddarth Patil, co-founder and COO at Comdex. Siddarth's background lies in finance and wealth management. Prior to Comdex, he has worked for the Big Four as an investment banker in India. Welcome, Siddarth. So glad to have you as well. How are you?
Thanks, Nadia. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me here. Really excited for the discussion today, and great to be interacting with the Akash community.
Awesome. Thank you. Abhishek and Siddarth, to kick off this conversation, can you first reintroduce us to Comdex? What do you guys do and why do you do it?
Sure. I think I'll start that off. So yeah, Comdex, right now is a suite of DeFi solutions that we're building for the Cosmos ecosystem and ultimately for the multi-chain. We started off building Comdex as a solution to digitize the commodities trade industry, which is one of the largest industries out there and undeniably kind of the lifeblood of the supply chain globally. So we started our journey there, built out a solution for digitizing enterprise commodity assets on chain and then facilitating their exchange. From there on, we've kind of evolved on our journey towards creating a suite of solutions around that to create the whole ecosystem. As we kind of foresee the realms of DeFi and centralized finance interacting more as we go forward, and as the crypto ecosystem kind of legitimizes itself, we want to build the infrastructure rails for facilitating that interaction of capital between DeFi and CeFi as we call it. So at a broad level, that's kind of the goal of what we're doing at Comdex.
Thank you. So, to follow up, can you explain to us what your roadmap looks like, a little bit more about it, and where you are on your roadmap today and what you're working on right now?
For sure. So, as a part of the suite of products that we have, the enterprise trade product is live right now. Is currently being used by institutional traders from Southeast Asia. We intend to build out a full-fledged financing model, a module within the platform. But in order to kind of facilitate that, there has to be solutions around it in terms of facilitating that flow of capital. So, in order to kind of address that, we've started building out our own stablecoin protocol called Harbor, with the stablecoin called Composite, which is currently live on testnet and has been live on testnet for a couple of weeks now. So I think users have been using it, and we've been collecting some great feedback from the community there. We also have our own hybrid DEX called CSwap, which is also on testnet right now. We have Komodo, which is a decentralized lending borrowing protocol, which will be coming live very soon on testnet for users to start interacting. But in terms of our broader roadmap, obviously the first focus remains to push these products to mainnet, and kind of deliver to the community, these products that they've long waited for. One of the key products that we also worked on earlier in the year was the synthetics protocol, which for now we're currently in the process of kind of migrating that mechanism away from an AMM based exchange to order book based exchange. So, likely to see some updates about that in Q4 of this year as well. And then, as I mentioned earlier, once these solutions are all live, to go back to the drawing room for the enterprise trade and start building out the financing module that will ultimately facilitate the exchange. I mean, the financing of these real world commodity assets and the supply chain. And then, kind of continuing on our journey of being the DeFi infrastructure layer to build out various modules that builders can utilize to build DeFi applications in Cosmos. So, at a broad level, that remains our roadmap. But in the immediate term, our focus is, towards pushing these products that are currently on testnet onto mainnet, so that we can deliver to the ecosystem, suite of DeFi products that it kind of needs at this point.
So for right now, how can Akash help support and scale what you're working on?
I think I'll take that. This is to, I just wanted to inform you parts of our testnet are already utilizing Akash at this point. We are, some of our testnet front-end web apps are hosted there. Some of our testing nodes are already hosted at, on Akash. And in the future, we, foresee more, even more deployments, shifting away from AWS or, like Greg mentioned, Hedgener came up with the, TOS violations. So it becomes very critical for, DeFi applications to move to a decentralized cloud. And we will slowly be migrating, even more of our workload to Akash.
Awesome. And as you move towards these goals and move towards mainnet, what challenges do you see, if any, along the way?
Challenges in a way, of course, the Discord has been very helpful. Greg has been very helpful. Scott has been super helpful as well. So one thing that we did see was, to get SSL, you still have to rely on, either Cloudflare or AWS to get SSL certificates. But that's like one point where you have to step out of the ecosystem. So hopefully in the future, we can have that internal as well. But and I think, initially we were worried about, how the data centers or will it be having enough performance. But now, since testnet has been already running for over a week on Akash, all those doubts are gone. I think it should be super smooth to do it. And even on the mainnet, we will, slowly try to start deploying a few of our things there and gradually, move to Akash.
Awesome. Thank you. So guys, let's talk a little bit more about your experience with Akash. Can you take us back to when you first heard about Akash? How did you hear about us?
Yep. So, we've been building in Cosmos since 2018. So, have kind of always been aware of all the happenings around Cosmos and keeping an eye open, especially for some of the great projects that are building out there. And Akash is certainly one of those projects that, everyone has definitely come across at some point in terms of the great work that they do, not just, within Cosmos, but also kind of what it means and what it delivers to the greater crypto ecosystem as a whole. So it's kind of that's kind of how we kind of first heard about Akash. But then within Akash we have Boz and people like Boz and Greg who are very reputed builders in the ecosystem. So I've kind of been following both of them for quite a while now and seeing their work. And that's kind of how I first got introduced to Akash myself. I remember, I think late 2021, I was in the US for a conference, and I met Greg for a quick coffee, and we had a great chat at the time, and that's kind of how it kickstarted. I think the relationship between the projects, and ever since, I think I've met Greg multiple times, and I always had great conversations with Greg. So always been excited about the work that Akash is doing and what it means for the broader ecosystem as well.
Awesome. Thank you. So how can the Akash community participate in your testnet?
So the testnet is now live. The most of the information about how one can access the testnet is currently accessible easily from either our Twitter account or from the community chats on Telegram as well as Discord. So it's quite straightforward. Most users can start by directly kind of heading over to the community chat or Discord to access the faucet to get test tokens. And then once they're on the platform, they can poke around and have a look at how things are going. And then obviously at any point, if they kind of stumble into any questions or any queries, there's members in the community that are always out there to help and address those concerns. And we're always on the lookout for feedback from the community as well, because one of the key things about building DeFi applications is that the testing needs to be thorough in order to kind of deliver a robust product. So our goal is to collect as much feedback and information as possible in our testing phases, so that when we do deliver the mainnet, it is kind of focused on creating that robust DeFi product that people can trust and use reliably. And in terms of the long term kind of vision as well with the testnet, users are encouraged to interact there, also to understand how these products work, because I think that forms a great big part of what using DeFi applications is to be able to understand what's going on behind the scenes, so that the capital that you use is itself kind of safe, and you're aware of what it's doing and where it's going.
So everyone, you guys heard Siddarth. Be sure to head over to the Comdex Discord, Twitter, Telegram. Get involved with Comdex's latest testnet. Provide that feedback. That feedback from the community is so valuable. Go check it out, guys. Thanks, Abhishek and Siddarth. I'll see you guys later this month at Cosmoverse, actually. But for now, please stick around for questions after our next guest. We've heard about Comdex's experience with Akash. You can try Akash for yourself, deploying through Cloudmos. Joining us today is Maxime Beauchamp, co-founder of Cloudmos. Max has spent 10 years working in tech and has been working in crypto and Web3 for the last 2 years. Welcome, Max. How are you today?
Hi, Nadia. Thanks for the introduction. I'm doing very well, and I'm happy to be here with you guys.
All right, Max, we'd love to hear about the incredible work being done at Cloudmos to enhance the Akash experience and make Akash accessible to more people. I've read that you love to build powerful yet easy to use products. Can you give us an overview of Cloudmos, what you do, and why you do it?
Sure. Cloudmos is a set of tools currently only specifically made for the Akash network. We have a fully functional block explorer with analytics on the usage of the network, a deploy tool GUI to easily deploy any Docker container on the Akash network, which is the main source of deployments, I think, currently. And we have validators on a few networks, but mainly on Akash, of course. And why do we do it? We want to be part of the revolution of cloud decentralization and accelerate the transition from the current cloud monopoly by a few big corporations.
Thanks, Max. You guys actually recently rebranded. Can you tell us a little bit about your rebrand?
Yeah, of course. When we first started Akashlytics back in April 2021, we really just started by providing basic analytics on the network usage, something that the community was really in need of back then. And because there was no tool to see how much the network was being used. So that's how we really started. And over the past year, we really evolved to a much broader vision and product offering. Akashlytics was created without all that we currently do in mind, and therefore we decided to rebrand. The name was also really hard to pronounce and hard to remember. It was getting confused with Akash itself and was the name was really getting butchered all the time. So that's one of the reasons why we decided to rebrand. And also, since some of the tools that we currently work on can be expanded to other Cosmos-based blockchains, like our Explorer, for example, we preferred a more neutral and unique name that fits better with our vision. But of course, we want to keep a focus on the Akash network, or the Akash ecosystem, rather. And after all, Akash is a cloud marketplace, so therefore, Cloudmos.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And no worries on it getting confused anymore. It's quite catchy. I don't think anybody will be forgetting it. Cloudmos. All right. So with that, could you walk us through your roadmap? Where are you guys today and what tools are you currently working on?
Yes, like Greg mentioned, we recently released our SDL Builder, which is really like the first step before a bunch of new tools we want to make that will, I think, really accelerate the innovation on the Akash network. The main projects we're working on for the future is a SDL marketplace. It's a big project, but we are going in small steps, like the SDL Builder, which we will make it shareable in the near future. So you're going to be able to share SDL through the SDL Builder. And like Greg mentioned, the SDL is so powerful and extremely flexible, and there's so many ways to configure it. So I think having a tool for power users like Democus to be able to share and save their deployment solutions for new users mainly, it'll be super powerful. And also we have our indexer that really is behind all our tools, mainly our Block Explorer, that we continually work on. And with that indexer, we will build custom alerts on blockchain and deployment events.
Awesome. And Max, tell us, how did you first hear about Akash?
It was back in early 2020, 2010, 21. I was doing some research on crypto projects in my spare time, and I stumbled upon the Cosmos ecosystem and then onto Akash naturally, and immediately saw the future potential that it has. It's funny to talk about that and be kind of in the future right now. And it's amazing that what we went through, what I went through from knowing what Akash is to today. And that was before the mainnet launch, so there was a lot of hype back then. But yeah, that's how I got to know Akash.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's always interesting to take a look back. You're an Akash Accelerator alum. Tell us, what was your experience with the Akash Accelerator like?
I think the Accelerator is still ongoing and very active. My experience with the Accelerator is mostly through discussions and meetings with Alani, which is really great and help us a ton to better align our roadmap and vision. It's always great to be surrounded by smart individuals like Alani that want to help you succeed. So I think I'm looking forward with the next steps. It's kind of like a mentorship, and it's a great initiative.
You're actually also an Akash Insider. What has that been like for you?
I've been part of the Akash Insider program since its inception, and for me, it's a way to network with like-minded individuals, and it's also nice to be able to test new features before they're released, and be able to also release our new features to the insiders so that they can test it out and give us some feedback. And it's nice because there's a lot of new members lately, and it's cool to have some traction. Shout out to Adam I hope he's having a great time in Burning Man. I'm not sure if he's back.
Thank you for that. I'm sure he's having a great time, probably. But all right, guys, check out the cool tools that Cloudmos is building and be sure to give them a follow. With that, let's open up our AMA with questions for Greg and for our guests, Abhishek, Siddarth, and Max. We already have 3 questions in. We'll start with one of those while we get Happy Investor. I see he's back. Hello. We'll get you set up to ask your question. And while we're doing that, Greg, we have a question from Jan Papa J. What can I use a proxy server for, and how can a beginner use SDL or the SDL Builder?
Sure. What can you use a proxy server for? Oh boy, I used to use proxy servers when I was a kid to hide my online footprint. This is before VPNs and before Tor existed. What do you use proxy server for? You can use several things, I guess, to cache different parts of your web application. You can use like a proxy server in different regions, and to mask a region. I mean, you can do like, you can do like. So a lot of times people use like corporate used to at least. I don't know what the new standard is, but say you're a company and you know, you know, you have 100 employees and all of them go to yahoo.com every Monday. So the contents of yahoo.com is not going to change, at least the homepage. And if it's, or New York Times, for example, right? Then it's not really going to change for all 100 employees. So you can actually cache one version of the New York Times and have your employees go to the proxy server instead of downloading New York Times 100 times, and then paying the bandwidth bill, right? So proxy servers can be used to reduce your bandwidth, costs. It can be used to improve your performance, your speed. Masking of IP addresses is not, I guess, anymore a thing because like those can be traced back now, right? So, but yeah, so people use different applications for. And what's the second question? How do SDL, right? SDL Builder. Hmm. Do how well? So, as a developer, I write quite a lot of apps on a daily basis, right? Like, I mean, I have a few. I built the ecosystem app for Akash. I built the feeds API app. I do quite a lot of like stuff on that kind of have to do something with Akash, but not really the core protocol, right? So for me, every time I deploy something, I need to rebuild the SDL. So I end up actually copying the SDL that I've created before into this new thing. So that, it's okay. It kind of, works for now, but it'll be really cool if I can actually go to a website or an application where I put in my information and the STL gets generated, right? So STL generator is really good for new projects, looking to deploy on Akash and want to fully like build the STL yeah, in a much easier and a simpler way, right? So um, one of the cool things I wanted to do for our Feeds API, which is our, which gives like a lot of cool like information about different, ecosystem and all that using an API endpoint. I'll be publishing documentation for that very soon. But the feeds, I mean, it'll also have like metadata information for providers, including like their IP addresses and their like locations and whatnot. So I want this Feeds API to have at least 10 regions, right? To have high performance API delivery. So with using SDL Builder, I can go and be like, hey, this is my, this is my container. These are my ports. I want 10 regions. These are the attributes to filter out for the regions and go deploy. So I think it's got a lot of cool features like that. That'll be super helpful. As a non-developer, I don't know how useful it'll be, but I think we have to do some more steps before we can get to SDL, right? As a non technical person, I think you shouldn't even care about SDL. Hopefully, we'll get to that point sometime in the future. But right now, it's Akash is meant for developers, and SDL really makes a developer's life simple.
Awesome. So John Papa J couldn't be here, so he had sent those two questions ahead of time. And I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to him for his questions and also because he sent those along with some kind words. Happy investor, happy to see you again. Go ahead with your question, and then we'll get back to those that got sent in.
Hey, Nadia. Hey, Greg. Hey, everybody. No questions for me this week. I just wanted to say I am coming to Mainnet in New York, and it'd be really cool to say hi to you guys if possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be speaking there. So I believe I'm speaking on Thursday, and I believe we have a few events happening as well. So yeah, I'd love to meet up.
All right. Shall I send you a
something
DM?
Oh, sorry. I don't know if we got that. Go ahead and repeat that again.
Do we have a meetup going on?
Sorry, shall I message you, Greg? Shall I DM you?
Yes, DM me. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Looking forward to it. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you for stopping by. And yeah, Greg is speaking on Thursday. I'll get that time for you guys in just a moment. But for right now, second question. We've got somebody asking, how will fiat payments on Akash affect AKT? This is in reference to fiat payments that Vixello is doing for Akash or will be planning on doing.
So fiat payments really, simplify onboarding or on-ramping for Akash users, right? So, I mean, there's a whole world out there that's not in crypto. Even though we all live and breathe crypto, most of the planet doesn't, right? So for them, they're used to paying monthly, invoices to Amazons and Googles of the world, right? So, and most of the time, the people that pay are not the ones that use, right? In Akash, it's you have to be the user and the payer at the same time. So what Vixello and folks are trying to do is trying to replicate the real world net 30 pay by invoice model on Akash, right? So Akash is prepaid, and you got to interact with the wallet, and you gotta like have AKT tokens to deploy, which you know you know in all in all honesty, getting AKT tokens are not the easiest thing in the world, right? You got to go to an exchange, you got to do KYC, or you got already have some crypto, then go to a DEX, but it's not the easiest thing for someone with a credit card to come and get these tokens, because of regulation. Hopefully that'll not be the case in the future, but right now it's very hard to get access to Akash tokens. So for someone like that, for a traditional business, they still want to leverage the amazing cost benefit Akash provides, right? Akash is still like 95% cheaper than your traditional cloud with current distribution of like 50 providers or so. It's very, very distributed across the globe. And with provider incentives that we're working on, we're going to expect at least 1,000 to 1,500 providers very soon. So we're going to see quite a lot of like footprint. And when that happens, we want to have a frictionless onboarding experience, right? So I think what Vixello, the work they're doing is going to enable like folks like traditional businesses to use a cash page and credit card. For them, a lot of these guys don't care about censorship resistance. They don't care about blockchain or Web3. For them, they just want to use a cloud, which is cost optimized and open, and pay using the methods they're used to. So that's how AKT fiat payments are going to work. And it's not going to undermine AKT because you still have to purchase AKT. So Vixello has to go and buy AKT off market, and basically use that AKT to deploy in Akash, right? You're not bringing fiat into the protocol. Protocols cannot support fiat payments. Only way to use Akash deployment platform is to use AKT. So anything we do on top of AKT, even a multi-currency settlement mechanism, the stable settlement we're talking about, even that really roots down to using AKT. So there is really no way out of using AKT, because AKT is the core native currency of Akash network. So, but all this is just going to enhance usage of AKT better and by removing friction. So hopefully that answers the question.
Thanks, Greg. Before I go ahead into the next question, so as Happy Investor and Greg mentioned, we will be at Masari Mainnet in New York, and Greg will be speaking at 3:30 on Thursday, and Anil Murthy, our head of product, will be speaking on Thursday at noon. Definitely come see us, guys. We love hanging out with you virtually, but it's always great to hang out in person. We'll also be at Cosmoverse. I know, Siddarth, you'll be there as well. So our next question, you touched on this a bit, Greg, but we did get a question about the Kava Proposal 97 that passed. Akash is in the list of rewards there. What does that mean for Akash?
Yes, good question. So Kava Foundation recently, announced their ecosystem fund. So they're going to finance companies that are going to build on Kava, right? So, and they want to ensure that these applications are fully decentralized, these applications are secure, and they're aligned with the interests of Akash protocol. So so they're going to give out some of their um, some of the inflation reports, basically a dev fund of, for lack of a better word. I think it's a great idea to incentivize the building of building on top of Kava, basically, right? So they're calling it the Kava Rise program, to give some of the inflation rewards to people that are going to build on Akash. So if you are someone that wants to build a DeFi application on Kava, and if you use Akash for your front end, for your middleware, or I don't know, your validator set or whatnot, you're eligible to those inflation rewards. So it's a really great way of incentivizing DeFi on Akash. Uh, this is an external protocol. This and Akash is not contributing to these incentives. It's an external protocol uh, that believes Akash is a very important and critical part of the developer stack, and them incentivizing people using Akash is a really good thing they're doing. Shows how much they value Akash, as well as they're just them being like very generous and encouraging people to use decentralized cloud and not a Amazon Web Services or something centralized, right? So I really like this proposal quite a lot.
If you have any questions for Greg or Comdex or Cloudmos, go ahead and request to speak and we'll bring you up. We had another question, but I think they have lost connection. Let's see. Greg, have you gotten any questions in on Twitter? That's all I have on my end from both Twitter and Telegram.
I don't, but Cloudmos, did you have a question? Or Max?
Those are emojis, right?
I didn't have a question necessarily, but I just wanted to add something about the accelerator and what has it benefited us. Not only that Alani has helped us forge our roadmap and vision, he's helping us also define our business model and revenue models, because currently we're mostly funded by the community pool, and this is not something sustainable, of course, but and for now it's perfect for us to set up a better business model and provide revenue for sustainability in the future. And he really helped us define that. And also the accelerator is going to help us fundraise in the future to continue to develop, because it's hard to be profitable in the first few months when you enable the revenue model and business model. So just wanted to mention that, and shout out to Alani who's helping us grow our business and application.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for Alana has been such an amazing partner to work with. I think if you are looking to, looking to use Akash and build on top of Akash, I highly recommend working with Akash Accelerator. He brings a ton of value. And thank you so much, Max, for that testament. It's really cool. And if there's nothing, we're going to close off. I mean, before we close off, I wanted to say a few things, right? Like Cloudmos, it's really amazing to see how decentralized Akash is, right? Quite a lot of uh, decentralization emphasis is like on like metrics on chain and whatnot, but I think it really comes down to your development, right? So Cloudmos, first began as Akash Analytics, which is an independent analytics platform. It's not developed by the core team. Max found out about Akash, through the internet, and he decided to build a tool that he feels is valuable. He started off with the analytics platform, and then evolved to a deployment platform, and slowly evolved into amazing things, right? So it's like, I mean, that's the kind of like organic adoption, right? We deem as a core tenet of decentralization, right? And similar to CloudMos, we have 7 other protocol clients that are building Spheron and Praetor and a whole bunch of things, a whole bunch of protocol clients, right? So it's very important as we're entering a critical stage in Web3, censorship resistance and decentralization to recognize that Akash from the get-go has put enormous effort into this organic growth, right? These are not incentivized growth. I mean, Akash Accelerator is a recent sort of like program, but originally we never had any of these incentives for people to additional incentives on top of the value that they see from Akash Network, right? So when it comes to incentives, you're seeing quite a lot of platforms today. Uh, and big one could be like Filecoin, but there are a lot of other platforms. Even in decentralized cloud, there are other platforms that incentivize early behaviors, right, before product market fit. Product market fit is a long and slow road. It's really something that has no shortcuts. People need to use the product. People need to come back to use the product, right? A cautious product market fit, is there, but it's not strong enough yet. And it's very important to stay focused on achieving a strong product market fit before uh, incentivizing adoption. Because if you incentivize pre-product market fit, the data you're going to get back is ruined, right? So you don't know why people are using your platform. Like for a Filecoin, people actually, so Filecoin has this Filecoin Plus program that incentivizes providers based on how much data they store, and there's a verification mechanism for legit data and non-so legit data. And so now providers, because there is a pervasive incentive, providers are actually paying people to store on Filecoin, right? So that's kind of behavior that we don't want to see, right? So that's why incentivizing uh, early pre-product market fit just gives wrong metrics that eventually will prove out, because your incentives will eventually die, and once that happens, you're not going to be able to be in a position to incentivize growth. Now, once you have product market fit, incentivizing growth is a great strategy, because now it's all about increasing awareness, spreading the word, and incentives really help quite a lot in spreading the word, right? So that's why we reserved incentives for post-product market fit, and that's why you don't see additional incentives for being a provider or being a a tenant on Akash. Most of the incentives today are for builders, right? So Akash Accelerator, we have our cab and whatnot that are incentivizing to come build a platform, build on the platform. And I think we're going to do some more work in further incentivizing builders. But on-chain incentives are coming. And once that happens, we're going to see a new era for Akash. But we're not going to open them up till we absolutely are are very confident in our product market fit, which we're getting there, which we're getting there very slowly, but but remember, it's a very slow and painful process. Once this process is complete, the fruits are going to be worth the effort. So with that in mind, I think I'm going to conclude this week's spaces, and thank you all for coming.
Yeah, thanks so much to Greg, to Abhishek, Siddarth, and Max for joining us on Spaces today. And a huge thank you to all of you guys for joining today or listening to this later. Before we get together next time, Siddarth, where can everyone go to learn more about Comdex and participate in the testnet?
Yep. So I think most of the information about Comdex can be found on the Comdex Twitter account, which is Comdex Official. And from there, one should be able to navigate easily to the community chat and to Discord, where further information about the testnets can be found. So really encouraging everyone to get involved, at least try out the testnets and get their hands on it. And then hopefully there should be very soon some exciting news for the Akash community from Comdex as well. I think that should be something I think we're excited to announce as well as we get closer to it. But yeah, encourage everyone to check it out.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Max, where can everyone go to learn more about what Cloudmos is building and what's coming up next?
You can simply follow us on Twitter. We always post updates with what we release on and what we are currently building. And we're available also on Discord, in the Akash Discord and our Discord. So that's where you can follow us.
Thank you. And guys, let's keep in touch between spaces. So go sign up for our newsletter at akash.network/connect. And don't forget to check out our latest blog, Web3 is Welcome on Akash Network, at akash.network/blog. Make your move to the open cloud and look out for more this week. Head over to Telegram tomorrow for an AMA with OmniFlix. Join us next week, Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific for our next Akash Weekly Spaces with Greg. Tap that set reminder button as soon as we post it. Check out akash.network/community and find out how you can spread the word about Akash and help this project grow by becoming an Akash insider. Thank you so much for joining today's event. Thanks again to Greg, Abhishek, Siddarth, and Max for spending time with us today. See you guys next Wednesday with Greg at 8 a.m. Pacific.